Infinite's Firefight King of the Hill is finally here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about what the mode does right and the things I'd like to see 343 do with it and the potential that it brings in the future. So anyway, without wasting any more of your time, let's jump straight in. Now for those that aren't aware, the mode released yesterday as a part of two separate playlists. You have the basic Firefight King of the Hill playlist, which I believe is on normal difficulty, and then you have Firefight Heroic King of the Hill, which as you can imagine is a little more difficult. It's worth noting that both of these do provide you with XP for your battle pass, and certain non-PvP challenges can actually be completed in these modes, such as your daily challenge and the ones that require you to earn a certain amount of score. And of course the player score you do earn during these matches will go towards your progression system. The playlist launched with 9 maps being available, which are Livefire, Exiled, Kasuni Bay, Valheim, Deadlock, Oasis, Behemoth, Launch Site, and the brand new one, which is the House of Reckoning. And if that sounds familiar, that's because it's one of the locations you do visit throughout Infinite's campaign. So it's cool to see this included as a multiplayer map. Some people were a little annoyed that there wasn't a bunch of new maps, but to that I have to say, like, when has Firefight ever really had its own unique set of maps? From my understanding, pretty much every time we've had Firefight in a Halo game, it was either reused campaign locations or multiplayer maps that already existed. I think the only time we had a bunch of unique Firefight maps was with Reach's DLC, but feel free to correct me if I am wrong. And although none of these maps are inherently new, who's to say that 343 won't include new ones in the future? Overall, I think this is a solid selection of maps, and they are pretty fun to play on, but I do find it a little bizarre that Breaker and Scar weren't included, as they are both like big banished bases. So I would actually really love to see them included as a part of Firefight in the future. I haven't had a chance to try out all of the maps on Firefight yet. The only 4 I haven't played are Livefire, House of Reckoning, Behemoth, and Oasis. So I am looking forward to seeing how they play out in this new mode. But overall, as far as it plays, it's kind of exactly what you'd expect. You fight off waves of banished, while defending various zones that the banished are also trying to capture. I think adding an objective here honestly makes it a little more enjoyable than the typical Firefight experience in my opinion. It just adds an extra layer to the gameplay, and gives you an extra thing to focus on rather than just running around and shooting enemies. That being said, if you do miss the more classic Firefight experience, there is plenty that you can play in the customs game browser, and that has also seen an update with the mid-season update, and you can actually join matches with your whole fire team now. And there is a possibility that we do get a more traditional Firefight experience in the future anyway. One thing I do really enjoy is the fact that they did find a way to include bosses in the modes. Occasionally a Phantom will drop one of the HVTs or campaign bosses from Infinite's campaign. And although when you have a squad of 4 Spartans, these are all a piece of cake, it is pretty cool to see them included, and it's something that I really hoped 343 would do, so I am glad to see that they did go through with that. Again, I haven't had the chance to fight all of them, but it's still really fun when one of them does show up. One thing that I do think is a bit interesting with both playlists is it feels like I get more XP off of the easier version than I do off Heroic. It seems like there isn't really any multiplier to the Heroic version, so since it is more difficult, there's a lower chance of you getting as high of a score. I could be wrong and maybe I'm just really bad at the game, but I do feel like Heroic should provide a little bit of a multiplier. I don't think the XP needs to be nerfed on Firefight in any capacity whatsoever, but I do feel like there should be a little bit of an increase for Heroic. Other than that though, I think the XP payout is pretty solid. Now one thing I would like to see is maybe a set of PvE exclusive challenges alongside your regular weekly challenges, for the players that don't really want to play the PvP. There doesn't need to be many, there could just be 4 or 5 challenges. They don't need to give an ultimate reward for these or anything like that. Maybe just a few Firefight challenges like slay 100 banished enemies, or earn a total of 50,000 score in Firefight, just things like that, just so the people that exclusively play PvE do have some extra challenges that can benefit them in their battle passes or event passes. Although this isn't something I'd deem as a necessary requirement, it is something I'd like to see included. And now that we have it, I would like to see maybe some Firefight related rewards added to the game. Maybe some weapon charms or coatings that we could acquire by doing various tasks. It'd be nice to see something like for defeating 50 bosses in Firefight, you get a coating that is based on the HVTs, or for capturing 100 hills, maybe you get a special weapon charm that relates to that. I just feel like maybe including some exclusive rewards to Firefight will definitely encourage replayability. The mode itself is a lot of fun, so obviously the current replayability stems in how fun the mode is. And although I don't think 343 needs to add rewards to Firefight, it's definitely something that I think a lot of players would appreciate. I'm just really thrilled that we finally have a PvE game mode, so when I play Infinite, I don't have to be ripping my hair out as I'm facing the extreme skill-based matchmaking that I'm sure we were all getting quite tired of. I'm glad that there's an official mode in matchmaking that's quite laid back, I can enjoy with my friends and enjoy Infinite's gameplay. But the next thing I would like to see is some form of PVPVE mode, something akin to Warzone from Halo 5, but honestly I'd take something as simple as throwing some AI enemies into big team battle, especially on the banished maps like Deadlock, Breaker and Scar. Having certain banished enemies spawning around the power weapons I think would add an extra level of flavour to BTB, and something that a lot of players might appreciate. But it would be cool to have a fully designed PvPVE mode. It doesn't have to be like Warzone, it can be its own unique thing. And I really hope, because of how well Firefight's been received, that's something that 343 considers. Another thing I'd like to see them do is maybe work on some new enemy types. Right now, everything that's in Firefight was already in Infinite's campaign, which is completely fine. Again, that's pretty much the same as every other version of Firefight that we've had in the past, with the exception of Halo 5 Warzone Firefight, which did have a bunch of different variants of enemies. But with us having this flood-themed season, it would have been really cool to see some flood enemies be designed for Firefight that are included with the mode. And I feel like this is a good opportunity to bring back some classic enemy types like the drones or the Prometheans. Since the game is live service, it's something that 343 could hopefully constantly build on to keep the experience feeling fresh. I also feel like this would be a good opportunity to add new weapon variants again like in Halo 5 and design new HVTs that possess these new weapon variants. Maybe a new skirmisher boss that possesses a full auto bandit rifle, or a brute that has a rocket launcher that leaves a red hot pool of plasma after a rocket has been detonated. Firefight itself has so much potential, and it'd be cool if 343 works on loads of different variations of the mode that could be included in this big Firefight playlist. Like I've already mentioned, we could see a more traditional Firefight experience. We already have King of the Hill Firefight. It'd be nice to see something like a Mythic or Lasso Firefight mode. Maybe an extraction version where the Banished are actually trying to stop the device. But honestly, at this point, who knows? Again, I just think there is a lot of untapped potential with this mode, and although it's only just released, I hope 343 do look into ways to expand upon it. Anyways, I'm just glad that it's finally in the game. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and I'm curious if you're all enjoying Firefight too. Pretty much everyone I've spoken to so far has said they've had a lot of fun with it, which is nice to hear, and I can't wait to see how 343 expands on it in the future. Anyway, that's pretty much everything I've got to say today. Again, let me know what you think of Firefight down in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.